It seemed like we teamed them out of a lot just by not having that alliance being right there together, you know? I think about that often.
It's gonna make you a little emotional when you see them come down the aisle and all the love that you see 30 years in.
You're right, man.
Yeah.
It's tough. You're right.
Yeah.
Damn. Melody and I not having any interaction, not even speaking, that always bothers me. When we got married, I never would have thought that we would be in this space, at a place like this, vows being renewed. If anything, I would have thought that would have been us.
Letting things go and deciding that enough is enough are two different things, and that line has been drawn from Melody Shari. Outspoken, audacious, and completely unapologetic. She recently made a statement that is more impactful than any retort, after years of remaining calm and allowing the drama to play out in the background. Martell Holt poses a risk. Let's retreat. Martell and Melody weren't your typical reality TV couple. They represented marriage and love in Huntsville. They had the dream set up from the outside. Every episode was infused with chemistry, a growing family, and real estate success. However, as is often the case with picture-perfect setups, the cracks quickly became visible. The accusations of adultery were only the start.
Time for surgery. I'm a bit nervous, but one thing with Melody, no matter what we go through, she always got my back, so she's here with me. I'll be fine as long as you're gonna be here afterwards to take care of me.
I'm here for you during this process because this is a major process. You're about to have surgery.
That's right.
But I don't want you to think that means we're good, because we're not good.
It was more than just a betrayal when Melody revealed Martell's long-term affair and the child that resulted from it. It destroyed everything they had worked so hard to build. She made an effort to keep things together despite everything. The aftermath of the divorce is something that isn't discussed enough. Melody didn't simply leave a marriage. Her identity had to be completely rebuilt. While Martell was out airing dirty laundry, hopping on lives, and hurling insults, Melody went to work. Brand deals, music, real estate, and a glow-up that didn't depend on the drama. However, Martell kept showing up like a bad plot twist. Co-parenting gone wrong wasn't the only issue here. Over time, it became evident that Martell was more than just a mess. He was interfering, showing up at her business launches without invitation as if it were his show, publicly disparaging her at events, and leaking texts to make her the bad guy. That isn't the conduct of an ex-husband, that is sabotage. Even worse, she made an effort to be kind, smile for the cameras, and maintained her composure on screen. However, there comes a time when safeguarding your peace also means safeguarding your brand, particularly now that the brand is finally becoming popular in unexpected ways. Melody is no longer merely a reality star. She is now a speaker, a future business magnate, and a woman whose name is taken seriously in boardrooms.
My children's mom trying to get full custody for me. I'm like, why? Like, I was taking my kids to school, yesterday. I was taking them to school yesterday. It was about 7:15, 7:20. And I was just thinking, like, look at all the stuff that I've done, and it's only 7:20. And look at all that I'm going to do for the rest of the day. Being a great father. But somebody want to say that you're and your children.
Additionally, the credibility Martell has worked so hard to establish is undermined each time she goes on a rampage online or performs a stunt on camera. Therefore, it wasn't merely for show when she finally stated that he is a liability. It had to do with business, actual business. Deals are now at stake for her, corporate alliances, national recognition, and the loss of money, respect, and opportunities if producers or brands believe she is still involved in Martell's chaos. Melody is aware that one clumsy headline has the power to ruin a year's worth of effort. This is where the interesting part begins. Rumor has it that she has been working behind the scenes for some time, requesting that producers keep their scenes apart, stepping away from joint events, and gradually but effectively redefining herself as someone other than Martell's ex. Melody Shari is a name and a movement, and anyone who threatens that momentum, whether they are family or not, must be removed. It's about boundaries, not resentment.
Yeah. It's all been dropped. Yes, she dropped it. The person who filed the motion dropped it. She was forced to drop it. Go look at all them documents.
Finally, Melody is enforcing hers with the clarity that compels others to pay attention. You rebuild louder, sharper, and alone when someone persistently disturbs your peace, tests your patience, and tampers with your future. That statement didn't sit well with Martell. Indeed, it started a fire, and a bad one. Hours after Melody's interview aired, he was pacing his kitchen on Instagram and yelling into the camera like a man who had just been caught off guard. "You guys really think she did this by herself?" He lost his temper. "As if I had nothing to do with creating that brand." Although he used defensive language, it was his tone that truly made people take notice. More wounded pride than responsibility. He followed it up with a series of posts that were removed. Grainy relics from real estate closings, old wedding pictures, and even videos of their children playing together. As though reposting memories could reverse years of harm, it seemed as though he was attempting to rewrite history in real time. Perhaps that is the issue. Melody is living in the reality of what happened after, while Martell is still trapped in the highlight reel. The so-called receipts followed. "Like a drop from a mixtape," he teased them. "Do you want the truth? I have voice notes, court records, and screenshots, but the internet isn't stupid. This play is not new to them. Exposure threats, mysterious captions, and the same outcome every time. Just noise and smoke, nothing solid." Fans began to notice something more profound than the drama. It was the trend. Every time Melody picked up steam, Martell lost it.
It would be devastating if my family was to collapse. Mariah, she is 100% just like Melody. The sassiness, the way she carries on with the conversation. And I would say Martell, he's just like me. And I don't know if being sneaky is something good to say about your child, but Martell, he is very sneaky. But he's very caring, very loving. And Malia, who we call Boss Baby, she's a mixture of the two.
He seemed to lose his temper every time she won. He would find a way to cast a shadow over it, whether it was her skincare launch, empowerment tour, or a significant podcast appearance. And it was strategy, not merely jealousy. Emotional transparency disguised as sabotage. One instance in particular caught our attention. Melody was invited to speak as the keynote speaker at a prestigious business conference. She saw this as a turning point in her life and an opportunity to prove to the world that she was more than just a reality star. However, Martell allegedly voiced concerns about her professionalism to the organizers behind the scenes. According to sources, he implied that she was all image and no substance, and that she still relied on him for credibility. It shook the organizers. Phone calls and emails were exchanged, and Melody was caught off guard and had to tidy up the mess before taking the stage. It was more than petty, it was a personal matter. It also went too far, because someone is more than just a bother when they try to sabotage your earnings, development, or evolution. They are a threat. Melody's silence ended at that point. Silence no longer served her, not because she was angry. Martell continued to spin in the meantime. He began contacting podcasts and inviting anyone with a microphone to participate in exclusive interviews. He asserted that he should be given credit for everything they constructed, but he was being removed from the narrative. Here's the twist, though. His story was no longer resonating. No one was buying it. The desperation in his posts even caused some of his own followers to start ignoring him. The set has become tense, according to insiders from the show's crew. In order to avoid setting off another scene, producers are extremely cautious around Martell. His own screen time is decreasing and his co-stars are separating. More scenes of him fighting with people while by himself, looking resentful. In contrast, Melody's plots are becoming clearer, more concentrated, and more motivational. She has moved on, he hasn't. It's a stark contrast. It's the distinction between evolving and reacting, between being the plot and being the author, between remaining relevant and leaving a legacy. Despite his loudness, Martell is also discovering the hard way that not everyone who contributed to the house's construction gets to live there forever. Melody didn't simply leave Martell, she changed the definition of walking away. She didn't hurl insults online every other week or slam doors. Rather, she constructed something silently at first, then loudly when the outcome was too obvious to ignore. In several cities, her empowerment tour sold out. A large retailer decided to carry her skincare line. She signed a contract with a talent agency to pursue acting and hosting. The woman who was first presented as Martell Holt's wife is now a well-known brand with a following of her own. This was no accident. Like a strategist, Melody laid it out. She was aware that every action was crucial, and that the blogs and cameras were still in operation. She therefore made them matter. She changed the way she appeared on screen. More of the mission, less of the mess. Her solo scenes became the show's highlights, according to fans. She signs business contracts, works with her children, and speaks at conferences. In contrast, Martell's scenes were frequently tense, fragmented, and focused on conflict with his co-stars or his own image in the mirror. She allegedly sat down with the producers behind closed doors and explained everything. Less Martell, more Melody, not in a diva sense, but rather in the sense that this is what's best for business. In actuality, conflict sells. However, development happens, and Melody had had enough of being a part of someone else's storyline twist. She was prepared to make headlines on her own. Paid attention. In order to follow Melody's journey beyond the boundaries of Huntsville drama, the network started to float spin-off ideas, such as spiritual leadership, entrepreneurship, and single motherhood. Real things that have real effects. Additionally, Melody had demonstrated that she was capable of carrying that kind of weight. Not just for the ratings, she possessed the influence, the numbers, and the presence. Martell, however, struck a wall. Producers were aware that his plot was stagnating. His scenes, which alternated between denial and deflection, seemed to be stuck in rewind. Despite the audience's desire for transformation, development, and atonement, Martell continued to deliver the same chapter. Additionally, in a world that is hungry for development, you cannot continue to sell reruns. According to reports, some production staff began to pose challenging questions. Is Martell lowering the energy, or is he adding value? Is he distracting or a draw? Furthermore, the answers did not support his position. However, the show did not experience the most significant change. It was not captured on camera. Melody's name started to be used differently by fans. She was more than just admired. People respected her. She was no longer a plot point. The story was about her, and it wasn't perceived as cold of her to silence the commotion around Martell. It was regarded as strong, shrewd, and strategic. The rest of the cast began to notice there will be less yelling, more business, less confusion, and more clarity. One woman raised the bar, and the show's tone started to mature. Melody had given up on becoming famous on reality TV. She was changing it. A message, a way of thinking, a movement. And Martell turned into the warning story. He refused to change after his marriage ended, not because he lost it. Melody didn't say anything particularly noteworthy. It was precise. It wasn't petty to call Martell a liability. It was earned and it was accurate. Not by retaliation, through outcomes. Because blocking someone isn't the best form of retaliation in the end. It's creating a life so vast that despite their best efforts, they could never get to you. That's what Melody did. She is now too far ahead to be dragged.